Let me ask you this. Do you work too hard? Do you have too much to do in your day? Do you find yourself going, well, I wonder what I'm going to do tomorrow? I just don't have much to do today either. Most of us have these issues, right? The workload. So I want you to go through and hear a conversation that I had with myself, okay? It's going to be a little fun. And so this is going to be an excerpt of a video that I did relating to some other issues, but I went through what I had to have as a mindset to actually recover from having a stroke. I had a stroke on October 13th of 2021. I weighed 272 pounds, 117 pounds more than I weigh now. I had a resting blood pressure of 180 over 125. And I was stressed to the max. I had 13 people working for me. I had a big practice. I had a lot of stuff going on. And I had to make some changes. How do you go about that? And I had to do it in a way to survive. When I was laying in the hospital, having this stroke, not able to tell time, not able to tell a nurse back two numbers backwards. She said, "What's 5-4?" I said, "I can say 5-4." She'd say, "Well, what is it backwards?" I couldn't figure out how to say it to her backwards. Neurologist said, "How long do you want to live, son? Because if you don't change your workload, you'll be dead by April 15th. So I had to go through a number of decisions, and I had to do them quickly. October 13th, January 1st, tax season starts. So I had a couple of weeks to get my wits about me. I lost 6 months of memory. I really didn't know a lot what was going on. And I had to make some decisions in the next couple of weeks. Now that we're in November, we're facing Thanksgiving, and I had to make decisions by the Monday following Thanksgiving. How do I move forward? How do I let clients know what's going on? How do I find help or not help? What am I going to do? Am I going to downsize? How am I going to do this? How am I going to actually live past April 15th? They said, you cannot work overtime ever. You don't have a choice. You will die. You'll absolutely die. It's not a if, it's not a maybe, it's not a risk, it's not a danger of. You will die, son. You will die if you continue to work overtime. So then what do we have to do? Stop working overtime. So I'm JJ the CPA, been doing this 32 years. The CPA tradition has been in my family for 70, so I carry a lot of pride in this. And so you're going to hear this conversation, and yes, it's going to be about me as a CPA and as a CPA firm owner. So probably hits more home for small business owners. It's going to hit more home for CPAs and EAs and tax professionals. It's going to hit more home for those that are my age and wondering what to do with all this work that's coming, and more work to come because of all the retiring folks in the tax industry. But even if you're none of that, you might have fun just listening to this conversation and how I go about it in terms of, well, what am I going to do? So I'm going to actually talk in a way that I had to talk to myself. So what I'm getting ready to just share, I'm actually not going to look at the camera so you don't mistake me saying this to you, okay? But I want you to hear the conversation I had to have with myself. Now, I had it for many months, and the reason I had to have this conversation is that I had a stroke. I weighed 272 pounds. I had a resting blood pressure of 180 over 125. And I lost about 6 months of memory. Forgot that I was planning on getting engaged. Just so many things. Happened on October 13th. Luckily, we had everybody done basically for the deadline. So not good for a CPA. But this is basically in a nutshell the conversation I had to have with myself, and maybe it might be helpful for you to hear it. This conversation I had to have with myself. And I had friends that were helping me come up with this. So, listen, I might use some voices, and that's just me. So if you don't know who I am, I'm not a kook. But I had to get like a different mindset. So you're just going to hear me talking to myself, But here's the deal. You ready? I mean, and I get this is weird. I'm going to look this way, but it's because I don't want you to think I'm saying this to you. I just want you to hear what I said and maybe you gain something from it. So, JJ, you got to downsize. So what are you going to do? Are you going to let go of clients? You going to let go of services? What you need to focus in on first is if you have too much work, what is actually in that workload? Deadline work. So I went down to working with clients that just had one deadline. So if you're working with clients that have sales tax, I mean, how many due dates are there? Probably 12. We have some clients, if we were doing sales tax, they'd have 12, but then there's a mid-month and you had to pay and all this stuff. So you may have 12, 24 deadlines, okay? What's that? Stress, workload, time, no vacation. Are you making any money off of it? No. Now, we weren't doing sales tax, but I used to a long time ago. But what about payroll? How many deadlines do you have with payroll? Why are you involved with payroll? Why? Okay, let's think about this. Let's just say you have an average client, they have 26 payrolls in a year. Boom, 26 deadlines. Got to run payroll, right? What's that entail? Phone call, follow up, this, that, change this, right? Now you got to have Susie or Tim helping you, right? And I'll tell you what we're going to do with Susie and Tim. But right there, you got 26 deadlines. Then you got quarterly 941s. Well, there's 4. Now we got 30 deadlines. Then we have quarterly unemployment forms. Well, there's 4 of them. Now we have 34 deadlines. Well, we got to file something with the state every month. 34 plus 12. Now we're at what, 46? Okay, then we have an annual W-2, W-3. We have 47. Oh, we have an annual 940. Oh, we're at 48. Oh, we have to pay quarterly 940. Well, now we're at 52 deadlines. I mean, and then how many other things go along with that, depending on what state you're in? What about a work comp audit? There are experts out there that do this way better than we do as CPAs. Hang on. I know. Hang on. You need to stop doing stuff that is not required by the CPA. Okay? Get it through your head. You're not the only one that can do this stuff. First of all, you had a stroke. You're going to die. Your neurologist said to you when you're in the stroke unit, how long do you want to live, son? Because if you don't cut your workload, you will be dead by April 15th. And I'm not being dramatic. So pick it. Are you telling me you're the only one that can do payroll? Now, I get it. Payroll is very important. You have to have an expert. It is tedious. It's to the penny. It is difficult. It is hard. You got Secure Act 2.0, 401k, Section 125 plan, blah. Are you kidding me? Like, that's not required of you. Why do your clients hire you? Why? To save them taxes. There is not one client that's ever said to you, you need to hire my CPA because he really fills out a mean 941. No one hires you for payroll. They want it because it's convenient. And what do? It's not a value. You make no money off of it probably. And when's the last time you went on a vacation and you didn't get a payroll phone call? I mean, it's not worth it. How many deadlines? Over 50 deadlines, okay? We just took away 50 deadlines. Now, hang on, I got a perfect idea for you that I did. It was genius. I hate to say it. My clients knew it. I made a lot of money from it. Hang on. Did away with that. How many deadlines did we say was sales tax? 24? What did we get, like 75 deadlines? What about bookkeeping? What? You're not going to do bookkeeping? What do you mean? A CPA is not required to do bookkeeping. Okay? We think we're required, but we're not. What are we required to do, JJ? Look over the GL. But we're not required. We don't have to do all the entry. And we know there's AI and there's QBI and QBO and blah, 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 blah. But your clients can either find an option, there are other options, there's AI, whatever. But you doing Bookkeeping, how many deadlines is that if you're doing monthly work? 12? I mean, what are we at here? Like almost 90 deadlines? For how much money? Now I get it right now. Everyone's like, well, what are you going to do with Tim and Susie and how are we going to make money? Because I thought that. Okay, listen. What have we been talking about, by the way? You are in demand, not because I'm JJ the CPA. You're in demand because people are retiring older than you. It's falling out of the skies. It's coming in the door. You don't even have the ability to hire people. Get rid of, 90 deadlines? And you have a client now that has one deadline. What do you mean? Well, if you have an S Corp and that's all you're filing, and you're looking over books, and you're doing the tax return, that S Corp has one deadline. Now the owner obviously has an individual, but that's a separate client, separate service, separate engagement with one deadline. Now they may have to be quarterly estimates. Yeah, you got 4 more deadlines. But we just went from, what would that be with somebody has an S Corp and individual and pays quarterly? Like 100 deadlines. I mean, rough. And we're going to go down to 2, maybe 6. I get it, but what am I going to do? Like the revenue. I get it. I know you're worried about the revenue. I hope you're having fun with me. But this is what I was doing with myself. Well, you're going to die. So, how much revenue do you need to bring in if you're dead? Because I had 2 clients tell me that. Do you want to fire clients? Well, no. Do you want to die? Well, no. Well, you got to do something, right? And you got business falling out of the sky. So that's what you can do with Tim and Susie. Well, wait a minute. Tim and Susie, they can't do tax returns. They've been doing payroll. Listen, if Tim and Susie are doing payroll, that's to the penny. And they dealt with how many deadlines? Like over 50 deadlines? They can do tax returns, right? Tax returns are to the penny. Tax returns are rounded. Tim and Susie, what genius. What? They can do tax returns. I can't hire anybody. Oh, I can now use Tim and Susie. What? This is conversations I'm having with myself. I was 272 pounds. I had a stroke. I'm in the hospital. I lost memory. What else did I need to be told? I was still trying to convince myself, just like you. So, what's it going to be, son? So it came down to this. You need to stop doing stuff that doesn't require the CPA. Now, technically, you don't have to be a CPA to sign a tax return. But our clients hire us to save them taxes. No one's ever looked at a profit and loss or a balance sheet and said, you got to hire my CPA. They put together the meanest, baddest, best looking, organized, it's in alphabetical order, P&L. Never. What's a GL? So, what's the value in your involvement with bookkeeping? To make sure it's right. So make sure it's right. You can do that. And how much are you going to have to reduce your fee? Not much, because you weren't charging much. But what my client going to think? Your client's going to say, I want you to live. And maybe you don't have those circumstances, thank goodness. But you, sir, come on, how big an ego do you need to have? And one of my friends said to me, with all due respect, not everybody needs JJ the CPA, right? So what clients could actually be served by somebody else? They don't have to be served by you. There's nothing really actually special about me other than my relationships with my clients. Nobody's the best CPA. So what clients don't require you? I get it. No, I got to take care of them. Okay, but you're going to be dead by April 15th, so you're not going to be able to take care of them after April 15th. Wouldn't that client say, you know what, I appreciate all the years you've worked with me. I can't believe you're doing this, JJ. You needed to hire somebody. What about Tim and Susie? Listen, your client that's paying you $175 a year can go to somebody else and be taken just as good a care. Well, but you got to start picking here. You got to start picking. You got to start picking. You got to start picking. So what do you teach a seminar on? Practice management. What are the things that you talk about? We got to put ourselves first. It's okay to put ourselves first. It's okay to put yourself first. Are you kidding me? Stop doing stuff that actually your client didn't hire you to do. Well, wait a minute. They hired me to do bookkeeping. They hired me to do payroll. But they don't need you to do it. But what are they going to say? They will trust you when you say, you need to go to a heart surgeon. I'm a brain surgeon, and I got too many brain surgeries. I can't do heart surgery anymore. Well, I'm just going to have to go somewhere else. No one says that. Well, what if they do? Business is falling out of the sky. Business is falling out of the sky. Like, what are you worried about here? Lose your ego, JJ, and it's not me that just has an ego, okay? Every CPA, it's not even ego. It's that we care, we love, and we're like, oh, we're going to put our client first. I'm going to die on April 16th and make sure I took care of everybody. Good for you. But what good are you to the clients that need you on April 17th? Stop doing services that are not required. And that's how we save the CPA industry here in America. We're going to need help elsewhere, period. So we got an exiting group, me included. So I got a great idea for you. Why don't you sell your payroll? Why don't you sell your sales tax? I told you I didn't do sales tax, but you can sell that service. Well, what's my client going to say? Listen, tell your client and tell them exactly how much you're going to make, because it's not going to cost them a dime. Well, I just don't know if that's right. Then don't do it and just fire them. Oh, I can't fire them. Well, why don't you hand them over to somebody that's going to take them all at once? I should have been talking to myself. That sounds pretty good. And by the way, you'll still be involved. You're still going to see it. You're just not doing the deadlines. You're still involved. You're not doing the bookkeeping, but you're still involved. All your client wants you is involved. So when I did it, we converted all of our clients in about a week. When I did it, okay, every client was like, okay, no problem. And the price that they were being charged, I reduced it down, and it was like $50, $100. What am I going to do? I just lost $50, $100. That adds up. Yeah, you bring in like one or two new clients. You made that up. What's Tim and Susie got to do? All right? Okay. So I'm going to be real honest with you. I re-recorded this section because when I did it the first time, I was saying this all to the camera, and when I re-watched it, I was like, no one's going to listen to this because they're going to think I'm talking to them. But I was really having that conversation with myself, and you just got to overhear it, and I'm trying to make it comical so that you hopefully have still stuck with me and you actually hear this message. All right, well, if you didn't find it funny, well, CPA doesn't include comic for the C, it's certified. But hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, you've never met a CPA quite like me. You have a great one.